Welcome to Eagle News. Hello, I'm Thomas.
And I'm Arjun.
We're so glad you could join us today. In today's episode, we will report about Eversole Run Middle School news, national news, Ohio news, teacher focus, science news, riddles, technology news, and much, much more.
In Eversole news, if you are missing any belongings and you believe they are left at school, please check the lost and found located in your cafeteria for any of your items that are missing.
In U.S. news, what is Women's History Month, and why do you celebrate it? Women's History Month is a celebration of women's contributions to history, culture, and society. It is held for the entire month of March. This is a time to reflect on women's accomplishments and contributions to the United States history. The first Women's History Day took place in 1909, which then became a holiday in 1911. Women's History Day is turned into Women's History Week in 1978, and finally Women's History Month began in 1987.
In the United States, March is Women's History Month. It honors women's contributions in all areas of life, as scientists, inventors, artists, politicians, and more. The celebration began in 1978, when the school district of Sonoma, California, hosted a week-long recognition of women's accomplishments throughout history. The idea spread, and in 1980, President Jimmy Carter proclaimed the week of March 8th National Women's History Week. 6 years later, an organization called the National Women's History Project convinced Congress to dedicate the entire month of March to women's history. Each year, a special focus for the month is declared by the National Women's History Project. For example, important artists like photographer Dorothea Lange and painter Mary Cassatt have been celebrated. Pioneers such as educator Mary McLeod Bethune, Clara Barton, who founded the Red Cross, Amelia Earhart in aviation, and First Lady Michelle Obama have also been honored. Women's History Month celebrates unsung heroes too. The countless women who helped when our country was at war, women who run businesses and volunteer in their communities, single mothers who work and raise families, and the unknown writers and artists in history whose works were never made public, yet teach historians much about our country's past. Which women in your life would you like to celebrate?
On this date in history, the first spacewalk took place as a Soviet cosmonaut, Alex Lenov, went outside his Voskhod 2 capsule secured by a rope. Fun facts of the day: the different colors of Fruit Loops cereal all taste the same and they're not individual flavors. This is this weekend's weather. On Friday, we got a high of 54 degrees and a low of 27 degrees, and there's an 80% chance of rain.
On Saturday, we have a high of 36 and low of 21 and a 10% chance of rain. And on Sunday, we have a high of 38, low of 21, and a 10% chance of rain. This is this weekend's weather. Have a great weekend. In language arts news, what is genre? Genre is the organization of literature into categories based on the type of writing this piece exemplifies. There's content, form, or style. There are a few different types of genre in this literature. Poetry. Poetry is a major literary genre that can take many forms. Some common characteristics that poetry shares are that it's written in lines that have meter and rhythm. Drama. This literary genre is also referred to as a play or performed in front of an audience. Dramas are written through dialogue and include stage directions for actors to follow. And prose. Prose is a type of writing that is written through use of sentences. These sentences are combined to form paragraphs. This type of writing is broad and includes both fiction and nonfiction. In science news, what is oceanography? Oceanography is the study of physical, chemical, and biological features of the ocean, including the ocean's ancient history, its current condition, and its future in time when the ocean is threatened by climate change and pollution. Coastlines are eroding, and the entire species of marine life are at risk of extinction. The role of oceanographers may be more important now than it has ever been.
In math news, operation is a mathematical process involving addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, squaring roots, and squaring, etc. All the given symbols in mathematics are known as operators. This is this week's Eagle Recognition Awards. First up is Andrew Arthur for showing ownership for Mrs. Greco.
Next is Cooper Hensel from Miss Savage by being service-minded.
Next up, Brady Mears for being service-minded by Mrs. Greco.
Next is William Knudsen by Miss Phillips for showing ownership.
Next is Harry Good for being service-minded from Mrs. Burkow.
Next is Laura Wolfinger for being service-minded and showing ownership by Miss Greco.
Next up is Elena Dilly for being service-minded from Mrs. Stischak.
Next is Savannah Lloyd for being service-minded by Miss Barrington.
Next up, Anya Venugopal for being service-minded from Mrs. Bobson.
Next is Wakat Daikanazo by Miss Jerger for being service-minded and showing ownership. In social studies news, what were the causes of the Revolutionary War? The road leading up to the American Revolution didn't happen overnight. It took several years and many events to push the colonists to a point where they wanted to fight for their independence. Many of the American colonies were first founded by people trying to escape religious persecution in England. As the British government became more involved in the affairs of colonies, people began to worry that they would once again lose their freedoms. In 1764, England began to impose new laws and taxes. They implemented a number of laws including the Sugar Act, Currency Act, Quartering Act, and the Stamp Act.
In health news, research indicates that staying physically active can help prevent or delay certain diseases, including some cancers, heart disease, and diabetes. It also relieve depression and improve mood. Inactivity often accompanies advancing age, but it doesn't have to. Like exercise, your eating habits are often not good if you live and eat alone. It's important for successful aging to eat foods rich in nutrients and avoid empty calories and candy and sweets.
Inspirational quote of the day: "Believe you can and you're halfway there," by Theodore Roosevelt. I think this means always believe in yourself. Every expert was once a beginner too. Well, that's the Eagle News for today. If you have a story you would like to featured on Eagle News, please let Mr. McNeil know. Here at Eversole, we're creating a community of excellence by being positive, working hard, and respecting the uniqueness of ourselves and each other. Have an amazing day.